Tum, 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 tum. Okay, so that's dramatic music playing because this is a mystery here. Oh, hi guys, so we are back on this GT6 transmission, which is supposedly GT6, but we are not sure. And I'm doing some research here to see what we can do about it. I have here the Triumph GT6 MK3 parts catalog, and I have also the Haynes manual for GT6 and Vitesse. So when I come here, it tells me the gear ratios for first, second, third, fourth and reverse for Vitesse 1600 and later models. This tells me that the Vitesse 1600 is different than the later models of Vitesse. Does this mean that the later models of Vitesse are the same as GT6? That I'm not really sure. However, when I come here to these two schematics, you can see this is earlier models, Vitesse 1600 and fitted on Vitesse 2 liter and GT6 models. So it looks like from here this is all GT6. This here is only for earlier Vitesse. And when I look closely here on the first and second synchro hub assembly, actually there's no synchro here for first gear, there's only for second, you see. There's no synchro cone. I was calling it synchro ring, but it turns out it's synchro cone. There's no synchro cone for first gear. Where here, if we come and we look closely, we have a cone for second, but we also have a cone for first gear. So when I look at this transmission, we have a synchro cone for first and synchro cone for second, synchro cone for third, and a synchro cone for fourth. So by this we determine that this is not an early Vitesse transmission. So that's one step ahead already. However, I'm still not sure that this is a GT6 transmission, because all these parts, as you may remember, came with my GT6. So the previous owner, Keith. Hi Keith, how are you? Say hi to Mary. So Keith rebuilt his transmission, and these are all the leftover parts. All this was replaced. Actually, I think he has parts for more than one transmission here, but that's another story. However, when I look at this gear on the input shaft and this gear on the input shaft, they are like, definitely they are different size. So definitely we have a different ratio in these gears between this transmission and this transmission. Even though they both have a synchro ring for first gear, doesn't make them the same. So we exchanged some emails with the owner of this transmission, Barry, and we determined that basically we have two ways to go here with this transmission. One way is to just take out these gears, touch them up a little bit with a little Dremel tool so they don't chip anymore, basically, so we can smoothen out the chips. But that wouldn't affect the performance much, because these gears, this one and the one on the leg gear underneath, are constantly meshed. They are not going in and out all the time. So I don't think this would be a big deal that some of the teeth are chipped. Actually, some people in the comments also advise the same thing. So I believe if we fix the hub, we touch up the gears, maybe change the synchro rings, since we're gonna have everything open, we better change them, and this transmission is gonna be good to go. The question is the ratio good for a GT6? That's what we don't know. That's why I prefer the second version, the second option, to go with these parts, because they are the right ratio for GT6. The thing is, they are not perfect as well. Like for example, the reverse gear here, the teeth are a little bit chipped as well. Just some of them, not too bad. However, the gear for the reverse is definitely chewed up a lot, like it's in a bad condition. The question is which one do we go with, this one or this one? For this reason, I decided that I'm gonna put together these parts as far as I can to see if we have complete set of gears and everything here. Of course, the synchro rings again need to be changed, bushings probably need to be changed and stuff, but the gears, I want to see if I have all the gears and all the components here, and then we're gonna make a more informed decision, sort of speak. So let me try and put them together based on that and based on that, and we're gonna go from there. From what I'm seeing here is we have parts for more than one transmission because we have too many bearings here and too many synchro rings or synchro cones. I don't know. But anyways, let's try and assemble it as per the picture. So this is our main shaft, and on the main shaft we have first, like these are the gears, right? We have first, second, third, and this is the fourth. What I see here is we have a bearing first, and then circlip and stuff, and even this goes there, but for now we don't need this. Then the first gear goes this way, or not. Does it come on this side? Oh. Yes, between the gear and the bearing we have a washer, something like that. Yes. Okay. Then we have the first hub, and the two hubs are different. The inner diameter is different. This is the bigger one that comes here, the second one is here. And this one looks like it still has the bows in it, and these are the synchro cones that go in it, and they are cones because they fit with this conic part here on the gears. You see how they go, and they supposedly slow them down, but this one doesn't create too much friction. So this one is worn, obviously. Let me see. Okay, this one creates a lot of friction when I push it in, and this one too, but this one is obviously worn inside, and no, this one doesn't create any friction. But doesn't really matter for now, for our case, because if we use these parts we're gonna change the synchro cones anyways. So that's how it goes here, and this one here, and then we have the synchro sleeve, which the two sleeves for the two hubs are different. This is for third and fourth, where the fork goes inside. This one is for the first and second, where the fork goes on the outside like that and selects it. So that should fit right there. Perfect. And now it goes against this gear, first gear. Then we have our second gear. Oh, that's how far it goes. Okay. Maybe it's better if I turn it around this way. Then, according to the book, we have bushing. Then a washer. These are all the washers that we have. So I don't know, this one is too big. Maybe this one? Yeah. Okay. Then we have another sleeve, another bushing. And we have our third gear. Perfect. And then we have our other hub, which again, this one doesn't have the bows and the springs inside. Doesn't really matter. There you go. There you go, we have another hub. And then here we have the output shaft with a bearing inside. So stay there. This shaft is damaged, but I don't think that we need to use the shaft anyways. Okay. No. No. No, obviously the shaft is damaged. We're gonna put it without the bearing for now. So this is our complete set. Well, there are spacers inside in between, there are washers and stuff, but we're gonna take care of that later. And then we have another bearing on the other side, of course. So that's our input and output shaft. Then we have the lay gear that meshes with these gears constantly, you see? So first, second, third, and direct. For fourth gear we don't use the lay gear. This gear and this gear are meshed only so the input shaft can transfer the torque off. Can transfer the torque to this gear and then to the lay gear, and then the lay gear transfers it depending on the position of the hubs. It transfers it either to here or to here or to here, or if this hub is positioned that way, then it transfers it directly for fourth gear, and the lay gear still spins, but it doesn't transfer any power to anything. And of course we have the reverse gear here, which goes like this. The reverse gear goes sometimes and meshes between this and this, and reverses the torque. So, and of course we have this shaft is, I guess, for the lay gear, and the shaft for the reverse gear. Alright, so we have a complete set here. I think what we should do first is, I'm gonna take it apart again, and I'm gonna count all the teeth, and I'm gonna calculate the ratios of everything and see based on that book in which group this falls. Then I'm gonna take apart that transmission anyways, and I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna count the teeth and I'm gonna measure the ratio, and we're gonna go from there. Once I know the ratios, I'm gonna have a better understanding of what transmission is that, because we can look it up and see if it is Vitesse or Herald or whatever. So yeah, that's a good solution, I think. Anyways, let me do that. I'm gonna count and calculate. Okay, so I did some calculations here. It's a little mess, but I'm gonna explain what I think. So how do you calculate a ratio? What is a ratio to begin with? Ratio is not only the ratio between this gear and this gear, it's the total ratio that we have in the transmission, which means how many times does the input need to turn so the output turns one time. So let's say 1.5 ratio means this shaft needs to turn 1.5 times, so this shaft turns once. So to calculate the total ratio, we need to calculate the ratio between these two gears multiplied by the ratio between these two gears. Of course, for fourth gear, this doesn't really matter. We have direct, so then this shaft turns once and this one turns once. For first gear, as we know, the engine needs to turn a lot of times while the wheels turn one time. So usually the ratio is around 2.5, 3, somewhere there for first gear, and 1 to 1 for fourth gear. So to calculate it, I'm gonna go backwards. I'm gonna try to see if I turn this gear once, how many times is this gear gonna turn? Of course, this gear is gonna turn the same amount of times as this gear because they are they are basically the same part. So the number of these teeth divided by the number of these teeth is gonna give me the ratio between these two, and respectively between this one and this one. And then the number of teeth on this gear divided by the number of teeth on this gear is going to give me the ratio between these two, and then I just have to multiply it by the ratio of these two, and that's going to tell me how many times I need to turn this shaft, so this one turns once. I already counted the number of teeth here on Keats. I named this Keats because these parts here came from Keats, so I named them Keats transmission. So here I have the leg gear and the input shaft ratio, which is gonna be the multiplier for all the first, second and third. So I took it out here, and this is because now we are calculating backwards. We started calculating from here to there, so now we have to divide these by these, which is 29 divided by 16 is 1.81. So we have to multiply this ratio by this ratio to get to this ratio by this ratio to get to this ratio, etc. For first gear we have 29 divided by 15, that's 1.93, and then 1.93 times 1.81, that gives me a total ratio of 3.49. So that's the total ratio for first gear. For second, I don't have a calculator now.
25 divided by 21 is approximately 1.1905.
Alexa, multiply 1.1905 times 1.81.
Approximately 2.1548.
548. So that's our ratio between these two gears, and that's our total ratio for second gear. And for third, we have 20 divided by 26.
20 divided by 26 is approximately 0.7692.
Alexa, 0.7692 times 1.81.
1.3923.
Okay, so these are our ratios for first, second and third gears. However, when we look at the book here, we have the early Vitesse has 2.93 for first and 2.65 for the later models. Here for first we have 3.5. That's crazy. 3.5. So for smaller engine we have higher ratio, for bigger engine we have lower ratio. Here we have even bigger than the smaller ratio. So this means that this transmission definitely not for GT6. I'm thinking maybe these parts came out of Spitfire. Okay, doesn't really matter. Then we go to second gear. Here there's no difference for the rest of the gears. We have 1.78, 1.78, 125, 125, 121 of course for fourth. The reverse has a little bit of difference, but 1.78 we have 2.15, 1.25 for third we have 1.39. All the three gears here we have higher ratio than what the book says. From there it is obvious that higher ratio is for smaller engines because they don't have too much torque and they have a higher ratio, so it's easier on the engine, and lower ratio on bigger engines. So this means that let's say 1000 RPM, our output gear is gonna spin much slower than what we have with a lower ratio, where at 1000 RPM our wheels are gonna spin much faster. So I'm thinking that these are for a smaller transmission, but we can look up these numbers and see if they can tell us something about this transmission. But definitely I don't want to use these parts in this case because they are not for GT6. Okay, then I came to this transmission here, and like I could barely see the leg gear down there for third and second, but I can't really see the first. At least for second and third I was able to count the teeth by marking one tooth with a marker. I don't know if you can see now. For example, there, if you can see, there's a mark on the tooth, on that tooth, and then I turned it and I counted how many teeth are there, and I was able to the same way to count the teeth on the leg gear for second and also on that one. So at least for second and third, and I can calculate. I can't calculate for first, but that's enough. So now let's look at Barry's transmission. Here we have this. Between the input and the leg gear, we have a ratio of 26 divided by 19, that equals 1.368, which we have to multiply by the ratios of second and third gears. So for second, we have 26 on the output gear and we have 20 on the leg gear, which means a ratio of 1.3. So that multiplied by this ratio gives us a ratio of 1.778. And then for third, we have 21 teeth on the output gear and 24 teeth on the leg gear, which means 21 divided by 24 equals 0.875. That multiplied by 1.368 gives us a ratio of 1.197. So I can't calculate any of the other ones, so first and reverse, but at least I have the second and third. And now again, when I come back here and I look at the book, I have 178, for third I have 125. So for second I have 178, and here I have 125. So this is very close to this, and this is very close to this. So I'm assuming this transmission is one of these two. The problem is I can't calculate the first gear, because that's gonna tell me exactly what it is, whether it is early model or later model. But I believe that this doesn't really matter, because it's only for first gear. If, let's say, this transmission is for Vitesse and we have this ratio and we put it on our GT6 or on Barry's GT6, the GT6 might need to go to a little bit higher RPM on first gear so it can get into second. That's the only difference. But then second, third and fourth are gonna be the same, because they have the same ratio. So what that tells me is that we can simply take apart this transmission, calculate even this ratio here, and this will tell us exactly what transmission this is, because that was our main problem. We couldn't figure out what transmission that is, and we didn't know if we want to use it or not, and if we wanted to use it, we didn't even know what transmission that is, so we can order parts. Now we know more or less what transmission that is. When we take it apart, we're going to calculate this ratio and we're going to know for sure, and then we can order what parts we need. So anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Not much work, a lot of talking, a lot of math here, but at least, even though we didn't work at all today, I think we made a lot of progress. So now we are okay to go ahead and order our parts. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for commenting and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one, which again, now we're gonna have more progress about this transmission. So see you later. Bye.